Parents work tirelessly on a day-to-day basis to ensure that children have a brighter future. However, Pradeep Krishantha from Putlam, who set off to work this morning, found that his work had made him the defendant in the death of his child.
Pradeep Krishantha is a private bus driver by profession. When Pradeep Krishantha backed out the bus which plies from Putlam to Thabbover, he would not have had any premonition of how his day would unravel. Parking the vehicle beside his home is normal practice for Pradeep. Today, as usual, he had stopped the bus as usual to obtain a bottle of water from his wife. Since he had passengers to pick up, he hurriedly got the vehicle started again. Someone who had seen a child in front of the bus had shouted, but Pradeep did not hear and drove the vehicle forward. The child who was run over by Pradeep's bus was his own 2-year-old daughter. In shock over the death of his daughter, Manisha Prasadini, Pradeep had rushed into the house and proceeded to consume kerosene oil. He was brought to the Thabbover hospital by neighbors. A correspondent said the body of the child is currently lying at the Putlam hospital.
Police have discovered the body of the individual who jumped into the Kalani River from the 5th mile post area in Pathiyagoda, Kalaniya. The incident had taken place on Monday during a raid conducted by the police in search for narcotics. News First went in search of the victim's house today.
තාත්තන් මොකද උනේ කපාට පයින්ද?
31-year-old Upul Kumara, a father of 3 and a resident of the 5th mile post area in Pethiyagoda, died after jumping into the Kalani River. The Navy, which intervened to search for Upul Kumara, found his body close to the bridge at the 4th mile post this morning. Police said that Kumara had jumped into the river when they closed in on his residence in search of narcotics. I tried to rescue him, but he was nowhere to be found. He did no harm to anyone and he has 3 children. He lived by selling a packet or 2 of drugs. The police did not harm him in any way. He thought he could evade them by jumping into the river.
The police have commenced an extensive investigation into the explosion that took place close to the Kalmune residence of Sri Lanka Muslim Congress High Command member Abdul Majid. The police said that an unidentified group had caused the explosion at around 2 this morning.
These are visuals that we obtained from the scene of the incident this morning. The police said that petrol had been used to carry out the explosion. The police media spokesperson said that so far 5 persons have been questioned regarding the incident. The police media spokesperson said that investigations are continuing to determine whether the incident was politically motivated. When I was asleep, I heard a loud noise. When I came out to investigate, the door was open. The house was filled with smoke. We notified the police at 1:30 and they arrived at 2:30. The walls and doors have been damaged. We think the door may have burst open for the shock. We suspect that a provincial councillor and another group may have been responsible for this. The 4 duly appointed principals of 4 national schools who received their appointments from the Public Service Commission but have been prevented from taking up their positions, and the 4 acting principals at these schools who have been preventing the appointees from taking up their positions were summoned to the Ministry of Education today. The duly appointed principal of Vembadi Girls High School in Jaffna, who was also called to the Ministry of Education, did not show up today. A fundamental rights petition filed by her considering the fact that she was prevented from taking up her duties is due to be heard in the Supreme Court on the 1st of October. When a similar petition was heard in court yesterday, the Secretary to the Ministry of Education was ordered to appear in court in person on the 1st of October and make submissions regarding the matter. The petitioner, who is the duly appointed principal of Visakha Vidyalaya Bandarawela, and the 3 others who were prevented from taking up duties at their respective schools, and the 4 persons who have remained in their positions, were told last evening to call over at the Ministry of Education today. The resolution provided by the Education Secretary to 3 of the 4 national schools establishes that the Secretary is trying to save his skin. According to the letter issued by the Education Secretary today, the first petitioner can take over duties as principal of Visakha Vidyalaya Bandarawala, while allowing the acting principal, who only allowed her to come up to the entrance of the school and sign the attendance register since June, to function as vice principal. One of the respondents in the petition filed by the duly appointed principal is this acting principal. The decision taken by the Education Secretary today, who on 2 previous occasions had notified this individual in writing that disciplinary action would be taken against her if she failed to hand over duties to the duly appointed principal, could cause an administrative conflict at Visakha Vidyalaya Bandarawala. The Education Secretary also notified the duly appointed principal of Vidyaloka College Gaul to be ready to take over duties in the next 2 days. The Education Secretary had also notified the duly appointed principal of Amarasurya Vidyalaya Meepawala that steps would be taken to grant him the position. Therefore, calling the 2 duly appointed principals of these 2 schools and the 2 acting principals to the Ministry of Education today was simply a waste of time.
Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. P.V. Jayasundara, has told Reuters that government spending will be cut in some areas in order to be within the targeted budget deficit. Reacting to this, opposition economists say that the government is cutting spending in order to obtain more loans from the International Monetary Fund.
Speaking to Reuters, Dr. P.B. Jayasundara had said that the rising cost of imported fuel and high interest rates had combined to put pressure on the economy at the beginning of the year. However, he had said that a reduction in the outflow of foreign exchange coupled with an increase in revenue had helped maintain GDP at the targeted level of 6.5%. During the first 6 months, spending has increased to 4.2%. If you consider for a year, it may reach 8 or 9%. Therefore, the government needs to cut down spending. Now they want to take another $1 billion loan, and the IMF representatives have arrived in the country. So they are trying to show them via the international media that the government is cutting spending. That is why these individuals are saying one thing to the international media and another to the local media and the public.
පෙන්වන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා ආණ්ඩුවට ජාත්‍යන්තර මාධ්‍ය තුලින් අපි ඒ කියන්නේ ආණ්ඩුව නොයෙකුත් කප්පාදු කරමින් සිටින බව.
Meanwhile, Dr. P.V. Jayasundara has also said that some non-essential expenditure would be cut in the next budget, with these cuts possibly extending to some agricultural programs. A hastily recarpeted road. Location opposite the UNP headquarters, Sirikota. A group had organized a protest against Ranil Wickramasinghe opposite Sirikota. A sudden roadwork hampers the protest. This is the current status of this road, which was recarpeted over several days. What was the intention behind the sudden recarpeting of this road? Why is it that the work has not been completed?
Welcome back to the news. The National Trade Union Centre says that the salaries of public servants must be increased by 13,442 rupees and 50 cents through the upcoming budget. Convener of the NTUC, K.D. Lalkanta, states that previously, rather than increasing salaries, allowances had been increased.
When comparing these allowances with the rising cost of living, it is insufficient. All those who trumpet about development must know that the salaries must be increased by 13,442 rupees and 50 cents if the people are to have the same standard of living they did when the government came into power. What has really happened is that the working people have had to cut down on many things.
Following a spate of media reports questioning the risk posed to Sri Lanka by the Kudamkulam nuclear power plant in South India, the Indian High Commission in Colombo issued a media release today reiterating the safety standards of the plant.
The release states that it bears repetition that the government of India assigns utmost attention to nuclear and radiation safety, including the safety of operating personnel, the public as well as the environment. The release issued by the Indian High Commission also notes that the principle of safety being the overriding priority encompasses the entire gamut of activities associated with nuclear power plants in India. The release also notes that the Kudankulam nuclear power plant is a state-of-the-art plant that is compliant with the highest safety standards available in the nuclear industry today. Furthermore, it reads that India and Sri Lanka have an ongoing dialogue on cooperation in the area of nuclear energy, adding that the Sri Lankan delegation is scheduled to visit India in the coming months to discuss areas of potential cooperation, including the area of safety. It is not only in Sri Lanka that concerns have been raised regarding the safety of the Kudankulam nuclear power plant on the South Indian coast. Even in India, residents living in close vicinity to the plant have staged demonstrations against it.
Well, it's time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day.
A 50-year-old woman was killed in Ragalanur area last night when an individual who had entered her house had attacked her. The police said that her 30-year-old daughter had sustained injuries in the attack. The police noted that the assailant had used a sharp weapon to attack the mother and daughter. The injured daughter is receiving treatment at the Noor area hospital. Police said that the individual who is suspected to have carried out the attack had been found dead in a nearby area.
In more local news, strong winds have damaged several houses in Monoragala and Mahiyanganaya.
The majority of houses damaged by the strong winds experienced last afternoon were in the Monoragala district. Assistant Director of the Monoragala District Disaster Management Centre, Ravindra Kumara, said that about 80 homes in Bovitia, Kumbukkana and Amunekandura were damaged by the strong winds that were experienced at about 2:30 last afternoon. 2 houses were completely destroyed. Meanwhile, about 60 houses in Kumbukana, Badal Kumbura and Bibila Madagama were damaged by strong winds experienced in the Monoragala district. The electricity supply was also disrupted in some areas. Meanwhile, several houses in Gamakumbura, Warapitiya and Kudaoya in the Kesel Potayaya Dolaha area in Ridimali at the division in Mahiyanganaya were also damaged by strong winds yesterday. Our correspondent said that about 242 homes were damaged by the winds experienced at 4:30 last evening. Meanwhile, low-lying areas of the Mathura district are still inundated. The Assistant Director of the Mathura District Disaster Management Centre, Major Saman Balasurya, said that the water levels of the Nilwala river had somewhat receded. We made inquiries from the Department of Meteorology about the weather forecast for the next few days.
There will
be a reduction in rainfall in the next few days due to dry winds entering the atmosphere. But rains can be expected in the Western Province and Gaul and Mathura districts. There will also be thunder showers in the Uva, North Central and Eastern provinces. Wind speeds could reach 70 to 80 kilometers per hour.